In the name of Almighty Allah, the entirely merciful and specially merciful, welcome dear students to the very first lecture of BCS Faculty English subject. I hope you are all doing well. As per the requirement of the curriculum, today in this week we will be covering this topic, and the relevant exercise will be given in a book by the name of Essential Grammar in Use. You can do the exercises right there in the book. So today we'll be talking about introduction to grammar, introduction to parts of speech, and as well as we will study the parts of speech classes in this video. Okay, so this is the this is the curriculum, or we also call it outline. We will walk through the curriculum or outline right here. So okay, سلام در خدمت همه شاگردان عزیز. امیدوار هستم که همه‌تان جور و صحتمند باشین. در این هفته ما این موضوعات را که در مفردات با ما داده است زیر بحث قرار میگیریم، که در این درس موضوعات ما و شما که در زیر بحث قرار میگیریم یکیش از introduction to grammar، بعدیش از introduction to parts of speech و همچنان open and close classes parts of speech. یعنی این موضوعات را در این ویدیو زیر بحث قرار میگیریم. موضوعات دیگه که نان پروناون است انشالله در ویدیو بعدی زیر بحث قرار میگیریم. و اساین یک کتاب بس برام Essential Grammar in Use. شما میتونید که relevant exercise را اگر شما کتاب سرخ را دارین میتونید که این exercise را تمرینی که هستن مربوطی که این درس امروزی با شما میشم exercise را انجام بدین. So let's start. Okay, the very first thing we will say is this is the first lecture. The very first thing I would like to tell you is most welcome to grammar class. So my name is Izzatullah Zahir and I will be teaching you English subject in this semester. Okay, so dear students, first let's talk about grammar. Now I know you have a lot of ideas about grammar, and some of you may have the definitions for grammar, and some of you may not know the definition of grammar. Some of you may have the definition. So there are different definitions about grammar. So I don't say that there is only one the definition that I give you, or the definition that we discussed today will be only definition, and this is going to be a comprehensive definition. I don't say. Every grammarian define grammar in their own words. But before we come to grammar and study English grammar, we should study very basic first. The very basic thing is, what is language? Now I hope you know the meaning of language in your native language. Like languages are Dari, Pashto, English, Urdu. These are Arabic. These are languages. Now the question that today we have is, what is language? Right? So let's talk about this first. What is language? Let's talk about. So we say that language. The word language is taken from Latin word lingua, which means tongue. So I repeat, the word language is taken from Latin word lingua, which means tongue. So شاگردان عزیز سوال میکنه که what is language؟ زبان چی هسته؟ میگن که language, the word language is taken from Latin word lingua, which means tongue. کلمه language یعنی زبان که از کلمه لاتین گرفته شده است که در لاتینی برشت lingua میگن که معنایش است tongue, right? So we say that language is what? Language is taken from Latin word lingua, which means tongue. Okay, و ما شما تعریفش بیتون کده میتونیم که like we say a system of communication by writing or spoken words which is used by the people of particular country or area, right? Suppose English is used by Americans or British people, or Britain, the residents of Britain, so we call that this is their language. So we also define language. There are particular style or types of words can be language. This is the more comprehensive definition, right? So I say that language, the kalime zaban ke az kalime latini grifta shуда ast ke the Latin verse lingua megan ki manay lingua ke ast tongue ast. This is the literal meaning. لغوی معناش است. ولی میخوانیم که what is language. میگم که language is a systematic means of communication by using conventional symbol, gesture, sounds, voice or writing symbols through which we understand ideas from each other or through which we convey ideas to each other. شاگردان عزیز، زبان رو ما قسمی تعریف میکنیم که میگن که زبان language is what language is taken from language رو خواندیم. ما میگیم که language is a systematic means of communication. زبان که است یک مینزی، یعنی ما میگیم که یک راه، یک شیوه سیستماتیک مفاهمه است. یعنی زبان مانا سیستماتیک مفاهمه است. کمیونیکیشن رو ما شما سیستماتیک میگیم. آره این سیستماتیک یعنی چی؟ مثلا هر کدامش که است word order داره. یعنی he is a boy. این تو ما گفتن نمیتونم که boy is he، به خاطر که یک آردر داره، یک سیستم است. که سیستم نباشه یعنی گدواد میشه. البته زبان کسی سیستماتیک است، ترتیب خود داره. هر زبانی که باشه این ترتیب خود داره که این قسمی زبان باید پیش بره. So we simply say that language is a systematic means of communication. زبان که از یک سیستماتیک معنای مفاهمه است. right؟ تا این از این تعریف گرفته تا این تعریفش مکمل هم شده میتونه. مثلا میگن که language is a systematic means of communication through which we convey ideas to each other. ما میگیم که زبان که از یکی از سیستماتیک زبان که سیستماتیک مفاهمه است که از طبق این یا به توسط این ما شما میتونیم که نظریات خود با یکدیگر انتقال بدیم. اگر در دنیا نظریات وجود نمی داشت، زبان وجود نمی داشت، ما نمیتونستیم که صحبت کرده بتانیم یا نظرات خود با کسی دیگر ارسال کرده بتانیم. If there was no language in the world, so we would face a lot of difficulties conveying our ideas. We would say one thing and people would understand the other thing, right? So the simple definition we can give to the language is we say that language, we define this, which language is a systematic means of what? Of communication through which we convey ideas. Okay? و شما میگیم که این تعریف کوتاه با زبان یا language داده میتونیم. Language is systematic means of communication through which we convey ideas. So این تعریف از شاگردان عزیز نوت بگیرین به خود. The simplest definition, take a note for yourself. That's done. Now let's move on. اینجا یک موضوع جداگانه ذکر کردم، کمیونیکیشن. البته یادآوری شد اینجا در تعریف که از ما یک موضوع دیگر ذکر کردیم که اون بود systematic means of communication. شاید در ذهن شما یک سوال خلق شده باشه که استاد what is a systematic communication؟ ولی استاد کمیونیکیشن سیستماتیک خب براتون گفتم که به ترتیب گفته میشه. هر کلمه که است یک جای خاص داره در انگلیسی زبان، در هر زبان ها داره. فعل کجا استفاده میشه، فاعل کجا استفاده میشه، این همه یک ترتیب داره. این ترتیب ما سیستماتیک میگیم. ولی کمیونیکیشن چی معنا داره؟ what is communication؟ چون یک ذکر آمد اینجا در تعریف. استاد ما به معنای مفاهمه نمیفهمیم یا فهم تفهیم هم گفته میتونیم. ما ایرا what's communication ساده تعریفش کرده میتونیم که sending and receiving. Sending and what? Receiving messages is called communication. یعنی ارسال کردن یا دریافت کردن پیام عبارت از کمیونیکیشن است. این تعریف بسیار ساده و بسیط داده میتونیم با کمیونیکیشن. و اگر او تعریف نمیکنی، این تعریف هم است. The way by which we transmit our message effectively is known as a communication and it's divided into two parts. کمیونیکیشن که از ما شما میگیم که میگه یک راه است که توسط این ما شما میتونیم که پیام خود بسیار به طور موثریت به کس و یک شخص دیگه انتقال بدهیم. این از عبارت از کمیونیکیشن است. مثلا وقتی که شما یک چیز میگین، یک پیام ارسال میکنین و وقتی که ما گوش میگیریم بر شما، این هم ما در پیام دریافت میکنیم که این توسط زبان صورت میگیره. Okay? Now let's talk about the types of languages. There are two types of languages. First we have verbal language and second we have nonverbal language. ما دو قسم اقسام زبان داریم که یکیش میگیم verbal language، زبان شفاهی یا لفظی دیگهش هست non-verbal language و زبان غیر شفاهی یا غیر لفظی ما شما میتونیم بگوییم. Let's move on. Then we have verbal language. As اسمش معلوم است که verbal language is a language which is both written and spoken. Verbal language is a language which is both written and spoken. میگه زبان لفظی یک زبانی است که هم نوشته میشه و هم خوانده میشه. یعنی البته هم نوشته میشه و هم سرش صحبت کرده میشه. یعنی زبان لفظی زبانی است که هم گفته میشه هم ما شما سرش صحبت کرده میتونیم و هم نوشته کرده میتونیم. So this is the easiest definition of verbal communication. As from the name it's clear that verbal means something which is either written or spoken. So a language which is either written or spoken we call that verbal language. Okay, like you can see the examples Pashto, English, Dari, etc. So we can speak Pashto. Pashto is a language which can be either written or spoken. So the English is a language which can be either written or spoken. Dari is a language which can be either written and spoken. So these are the languages which can be either written or spoken, or these are the language which can be both written and spoken. A language which can be both written and spoken, we call that verbal language. زبانی که هم نوشته میشه و هم تکلم سرش کرده میشه یا صحبت کرده میشه او را ما شما زبان میگیم. در پشتو داریم مال میدارم که هم پشتو نوشته کنیم و هم صحبت کنیم. همینطور انگلیسی را میتونیم که هم نوشته کنیم و هم سرش صحبت کنیم. So this was Badi Modern. Next we have is non-verbal language. So the pronunciation of this word is non-verbal language. There are some certain people they mispronounce, they say non-verbal, which is not the exact and correct pronunciation. So the exact and correct pronunciation of the non-verbal language is non-verbal language or non-verbal language. It's not non, it's pronounced non. What's non-verbal language? So non-verbal language is a language which is neither written nor spoken. It's a language which cannot be written and cannot be spoken. A language which it can be written and can be spoken, we call that non-verbal language. زبانی که نه نوشته میشه و نه سرش صحبت کرده میشه ایره ما شما چی میگیم؟ ما شما ایره زبان غیر لفظی یا زبان شفاهی برش گفته میتونیم. So a language which is neither spoken nor written, we call that a non-verbal language. Okay, so what now the question is what language, what is the language, what's the name of the language, or what's the example of a language which can be neither written or not spoken? Very easy. See, body language. A body language cannot be written or it cannot be spoken, but it can be understood. So when someone speaks, so you understand that. Okay, so therefore we can say that body language is a non-verbal communication because we can neither write it or nor speak it. So second, sign language. Suppose there are arrows that arrow guide us from one place to other place. So these arrows, whenever we see these arrows in front of room, on the floors, we understand that it means here or there, right? So from the arrows we understand. So if we communicate, so a language which is used for communication, where it's neither written nor spoken, just a sign, so we call that a sign language. Okay. زبانی که گفته میشه و نه خوانده میشه را ما شما زبان شفاهی یا زبان غیر لفظی یا غیر شفاهی ما شما میگیم که مثالش از body language و sign language است. ولی شاگردان عزیز میایین aspect of language. Let's talk about aspect of a language. So remember that there are two aspects of a language, but before we start discussing about the aspects of a language, I would like to tell you that every language has 4 major skills, right? How many skills? 4 major skills. Keep this in mind that 2 of them are receptive and 2 of them are productive. Now what do you mean by 2 of them are receptive and 2 of them are productive? So productive skills are skills through which we produce a message. It's taken from the word produce, right? Productive is an adjective form of the word produce. Okay, production is a noun form. A productive skill of a language is a skill through which we produce a message to a certain group of people or those who are listening to us. On the other hand, we have receptive skill of a language. It's a skill through which we receive a message. So the receptive is a noun adjective form of the word receive. So it means that whenever you receive a message, it means that you are getting information. You are getting the message. When you receive the message, when you get the message, so it means that you should use your receptive skill. So we have that productive skill, as I said, that as a skill through which we produce a message. Whenever we speak to people, so we produce a message. For example, I'm talking to you and now you are listening. So you are using your receptive skills and I'm using my productive skills. So and writing is also a skill of a language through which we produce a message, right? For example, whenever I write down my ideas, my philosophies, my thoughts to you in a written form. And then whenever you see them, you read them. Whenever you read them, so your information increases. So we say that you receive you just receive the message through writing. And then we have receptive skills, are skills through which we produce a message, receive a message. Sorry. One of them is listening. And listening, whenever we are listening, so we again receive the message. Somebody is talking and we are listening. So it means that we are listening, we are getting a lot of information, or we are inputting things in our mind, right? So, and then we also have reading. And this, similarly to listening, we have reading. Whenever we read, it means that we again increase our knowledge, because we are putting data in our mind through our eyes by reading. Okay, so these are major skill of a language: speaking, writing, reading, and listening. These 4 skills are the major skills of a language, or we can say aspects of a language. So the definition is here: a productive aspect of a language, we produce a message. Productive skill के اسم एक شاگردان عزیز یک مهارت زبان است یا یک اقسام زبان است که توسط این ما شما میتونیم که یک پیام را به کسی دیگر ارسال کنیم، تولید کنیم. پیام میتونیم به کسی دیگر تولید کنیم و مهارتی که توسط اون ما میتونیم که پیام به کسی دیگر تولید کنیم، میره ما شما میگیم productive skill of a language. ما اینجا داریم دیگهش بود receptive skill of receptive aspect of a language. We receive a message. میگه receptive aspect of a language یک مهارت های زبان است که توسط این ما شما پیام را دریافت میکنیم. Now, what is grammar? آلی شاگردان عزیز سمتازی بحث میکنیم که گرامر یعنی چی است. What's grammar؟ بیاین سر گرامر بحث کنیم. قسمی که اولتر هم ما ذکر کرده بودم که grammar, what is grammar? So now we will study it in detail. Okay. The word grammar is taken or derived from Latin word grammar, which means a set of standard rules, right? اینجا letter نوشته شده است. خب بهتر است که شما ایره a set of standard rule بگوین. What is grammar? Grammar is taken from Latin word grammar, which means a set of standard rules. Grammar که است یک کلمه است که از لاتینی کلمه گرفته شده است که در لاتین باری گرامر میگه که معنای گرامر است a set of standard rules. معنای گرامر چی است شاگردان عزیز؟ a set of standard rules میگه یک سیت، یک گروه قواعد معیاری یا اصول معیاری، یعنی یک سیت است که در اون قوانین استاندارد جور شده است. یعنی این است که علی ما شما میگیم نه که بهی با دختر که از شی استفاده میشه، با بچه هی استفاده میشه. این ما با شما کی گفت که با بچه هی استفاده میشه، با دختر هی؟ این گرامر رولز است، یعنی یک استاندارد رول بر ساخته شده است. مثلا ما میگیم که با جمع که از آر استفاده میشه، رایت، با مفرد که از استفاده میشه. این رو برات کی گفت؟ این کلش گرامر بر ما گفته است. سو این بود لغوی تعریفش. ولی ما میگیم که what is grammar. سو ساعت تعریفش میکنیم. البته ساعت تعریفی گرامر ما میکنیم. ما میگیم که grammar is an important skill of a language through which we can use a language correctly and avoid ourselves from making mistakes. گرامر که است یکی از مهمترین مهارت‌های زبان است که توسط این ما و شما میتونیم که یک زبان را صحیح استفاده کنیم و از غلطی کردن یا از اشتباهات جلوگیری کنیم. مثلا اگر کسی بگه که she are boys، حالا she are boys این جمله غلط است. اگر میخواین که بسر دقیق یعنی صحیحش بفهمین که چطور جمله صحیح میشه، شما باید اصولهای گرامر را مطالعه کنین که گرامر معناش از a set of standard rules, right? Okay, so we say that suppose that a set of grammar means a set of standard rules. So there are certain rules which are set by the grammarians or those who know more in the language. They have set some standard rules about the language. So now that those standard rules are set, and that set is named by grammar. So it's named that it's a grammar. So we name it as a grammar. Now you can see the other definition we have for grammar is grammar is the key of a language, structure of a language, and or skeleton of a language. So this is the definition, right? Some people ask me this question that, sir, is grammar important for learning a language? So for this question I have got two answers. The first answer is no. The short answer, no. For learning a language, grammar is not very important. It's not very significant. It's not very essential, right? Because if you're learning a language which is spoken in your environment, then you don't need to learn grammar rules. So you don't need to go through grammar rules and study each single one of them. But if you are living, the long answer is yes. If you are learning the language which is not spoken in your environment, and you are away and you live away quite very away or far away from the native speakers, then in that circumstances it's better to go through grammar rules, because grammar rules will help you somehow to learn the basics of a language, and then as well as the advance of a language it will teach you somehow. But I don't say that you should only concentrate on grammar and turn your back upon the other parts of the sub skills or sub words of a language, like vocabulary, pronunciation, writing, reading, some other. And so you should just maintain the optimal level between these sub skills and major skills. So the definition of grammar we can easily say. Now let's go through some examples how grammar make us to learn a language, how grammar make us learn a language correctly and avoid ourselves from making mistake. You see, he are studying computer. Now this sentence is incorrect. Who says this sentence is incorrect? Because are is not used for he is a singular subject. So for singular subject we have to use singular verb. So are shouldn't be used there. It should be is. Why do we say that it should be used? Because it's a grammar rule, and grammar is a set of standard rule. Who told you to use is for he? Grammar. And what's grammar? A set of standard rule. You see, Ali and Ahmad is busy, so it is also again this sentence is incorrect. Why? Because for plural subjects we should use plural verb. So here Ali and Ahmad are two subjects, and for two subjects we have to use plural verb. So are should be used here. So who told you that for plural subject we use plural verb? Grammar. What is the grammar? A set of standard rules. The last one, are they played football? Now this sentence is quite incorrect, because you see are they played football. So it's like, I can't say which tense is it, but you can make it like, you can also rectify this, that did they play football. So ed should be removed, and r also should be removed. So then it becomes simple past tense. But you can also make it simple present tense by just saying that do they play football. So now all these rules are set by what? All these rules are set by grammar, right? And grammar is a set of standard rules. For example, if you come to the one word program and you just type let me just type here, suppose you say he study English. Now you see that here the word program is set by the grammar, so it checks the grammar mistakes. You see, now this says that this is incorrect. Why? Because there is a singular subject, and for singular subject we should use singular verb. So now we have to change I to y to I and add ed. So who told you this is a grammar rule? So you should change like this. Now this is a grammar rule, you have to do that. Now for example, if you say she does the laundry, she does the laundry. You see the sentence, she does the laundry. Now this sentence is correct, but if you just remove this she does from his, and you could see the sentence, it says that, and press the enter, you see the blue underline. It tells you that there is a mistake, right? So what's the mistake? Mistake is that singular subject with a singular verb. So this is, and who told you that? The grammar rules. Who gave the instruction to word program to underline the verb which is used for plural subject, singular verb? You have to change that, you have to underline. So grammar rules, and they're already set to them. Let me give you another one. For example, I say I can play tennis. Now check this out. Now I can play tennis. This is an advanced one because you don't see this because it's incorrect. But Word is not given such an advanced instruction to rectify every single mistake which is made by the grammar. But somehow Word does its best to point out the basics mistakes or intermediate mistake or preliminary mistakes are underlined by the Word program because it's instructed that way. Other than that, it cannot point out every single mistake, every advanced mistake that you make in English grammar. So dear student, this was our today's lecture. If you have any question, suggestion, you are most welcome to ask me or leave your question in the comment box. I will try my best to reach out. شاگردان عزیز، امیدوارم که همتون با درس امروز فهمیده باشین. اگر کدام سوال و پیشنهاد داشته باشین میتونین در گروپ هایی که ما شما عد هستیم در اون مطرح کنین و میتونین که نمیره در سلاید اگر نیاز داشته باشین براتون عنوان میکنیم. کوشش بکنین که شما از این یک مختصر نوت با خود بسازین. دیگه با امان خدا شاگردان عزیز، وقت خوش و خندان باشین. Stay safe everyone.